You guys can hear me? No? I wonder. Check, check, check. Somebody let me know if you can hear me. Can you hear it? Can you hear audio? I wonder. I'm good now? Man, that was so confusing. I don't know what it was, honestly. I mean, I'm baffled at the moment. Maybe the USB cable for my microphone. But it was showing up fine in the, I don't know. I have no clue. That was so weird. Anyways, frustrating. Sorry, guys. I tried to reload the page like 100 times, and it just said, like there's a preference for when you load your audio driver or whatever you're going to use for audio, and it just kept saying loading, loading, loading after that, and it wouldn't load. And I'm like, this might not work tonight. And I thought it was a YouTube thing, but then I tried a different USB cable. I don't know, man. Technical crap. Anyways, yeah, Labor Day, it doesn't want to work either, says the Bad Tigs. Yeah, I know, right? And I didn't even realize too when I said I was going to do this Sunday. I was like, oh yeah, it's gonna be the Labor Day. But anyways, hopefully that all works. So, and then I'm late because I was in a restaurant. I was ordering food, and they brought the wrong, order. And they're like, no, I just wanted this. And then they go back and they try and fix it, and it's just the way the day's going, folks. Anyways. Greetings from Austin, says Spider. Great Sweetwater interview. I haven't watched it yet. You just reminded me. I gotta go watch that actually. I'm gonna do that after. And Ben Coombs says he gave me a big shout out during the show, and then I had this debacle. Hopefully, folks didn't get turned off by the beginning of the whole thing. Anyways, what was I holding up in the beginning there? Somebody was asking about it. This is one of that Sweetwater largest pedal board ever situations. This is one of the pieces of the board. It's basically two of the 2 notes pedals they sent me, and then a whole bunch of drives. I actually asked for the mod board. They said, which one do you want to do? And I said the mod board, and they sent me this one, but beggars can't be choosers. What I decided to do was 11 pedals in 11 minutes. You're going to hear every single one of those pedals. I started it today, and I'll probably finish it up tomorrow, but through Marshall and the Fender. You're going to hear each one. And man, the light is kind of bright, eh? Not so hot right now. Turn these down a little bit. It's a little ugly. Just reduce the lighting. Sorry. We're gonna get this together today. I'm a little out of practice, folks. I've been out of town. That looks a little better. So yeah, I was over in the UK. I was doing a morning television show with a nice group of musicians they call themselves the Classic Rock Show. And it's the folks that actually do Brit Floyd, which is a really, really high level Pink Floyd. I don't want to say tribute band because they hate that, but anybody that's seen Brit Floyd, I've seen them actually at the Greek in LA. They do like theater shows. They'll play like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 seaters with full lights and production. And it's a celebration of Pink Floyd music, really. But anyway, it's the same folks that put on this group called the Classic Rock Show, and I flew over to the UK to play with them on a morning television show called This Morning, which is kind of like the Good Morning America of the UK. And that was fun. We did a medley. And I'm going to play dates with them in January and February. And go over and play some tunes. So, as yet to be decided which ones, but they've got a whole bunch of UK dates. And they were nice people, and they want me to come play some music with them. Some music. What else? That's all I got going on right now. The pedal board, that was this week. That's what I got happening. What do you guys got going on? Let's see what's going on in the chat here. I suspect a clocking issue, as we were just hearing a crackling sound, says Chris. Oh, that's interesting. That's good information. That could be. Something going on between my interfaces or something like that. Yeah, I had a session open, and it could be that this is like 16-bit 44.1 or whatever, and then the Logic session was 24-bit 48K. Anyways, thanks for that. That might be true. I found the best thing to do with these live streams is make sure I've got nothing else going on program-wise open. and no interfering sort of audio stuff, other things going on for anybody that does this stuff. That tends to work. Kyle says he's bored out of his mind waiting for the hurricane to hit in Florida. Well, you're not going to be bored for long. Excuse me, things are going to get interesting pretty quick. I hope you're safe. All boarded up, you say. Waiting game now. Now it's guitar time. Man, stay safe or get the heck out of there. Honestly, looks crazy what's going on in the Bahamas. So, thoughts on the new Tool album? I haven't listened yet. That's from Steven. What do you guys say? What about the new Tool album? Anything interesting? Oscillation Overdrive says, is this really live? It's so live. Can't you tell by all the errors? If it wasn't live, there wouldn't be all this crap going on at the beginning. Thanks for joining me. We got 169 people online, which ain't bad since it ain't the usual time. Steve is in Taiwan. First live with me. What's up, dude? Good to see you. I know this probably works better for your schedule, right? The nighttime thing in the U.S. is like, it's probably like, what, morning there, I guess. Phil says hi from London, Ontario. And how was the UK trip? It was great. I had fun. We rehearsed in Liverpool, which was nice. That's where this band is based out of. And I've never spent a lot of time in Liverpool, and it's really a nice town. I did all the Beatles geeky stuff, which was fun. I went to the Beatles Museum. I went to the reconstructed Cavern Club, which is 14 meters down the road from where the original was, but it's still really cool. I had a great time there. I couldn't stop smiling, actually, the whole time I was in there. There's a band in there playing Beatles music and a bunch of people having fun, and it was really neat. And it was especially cool to see those, the streets where the Beatles used to walk. You just knew. It was like, oh, this was where this was the same sights these guys used to see when they were just forming, and then they had no idea what was going to happen, how crazy things were going to get in a few years. And that was neat, to think about. And I got to see John Lennon's art college, and right next door, Paul's music college, right next to one another, where they both used to go to school. And Paul now he's part owner of that music college now, so that's pretty cool. He went to school there and grew up to buy the place. It's a really nice place, Liverpool. I enjoyed it. Lots of good food and places to hang. The gig itself was fun. We played at about noon on this television program and did a bunch of classic tunes, and it was it was mixed by a great engineer that the band sort of insisted on taking their own engineer, and his regular gig is King Crimson. He's a really good sound guy, and I took a PT-15 UK spec over there, and I left it there because I'm going to be doing clinics. I literally have to go back in 8 days, so I'm headed back over there. And so I used the amp, and of course took the direct out, but the engineer wanted to put a mic on the cab, so I had a 112 that was borrowed. And then he quickly got in the in-ears and said, I greatly prefer the direct signal. And I said, that's what all the engineers say. So that was cool. So if you did catch the show, or if you find a recording of it or something like that, it's the PT-15 direct. It's very similar to what you'll hear me do in my demos and all that, I guess. And I used it with a Helix HX, and it worked really great. Helix was channel switching the amp and doing delay and a little bit of drive and stuff, and it works really good. More Guitar says, Pete, any good concerts lately? Any shows you're looking forward to? My buddy's playing at Hollywood Bowl with The Who next month, John Button. So I'm going to go see them there. So I look forward to that. I saw my other buddy, bass player friend, Jurgen, play with Government Mule last week at the Ford Theater in LA. And that was really great. Never been to the Ford. It's an amphitheater on the other side of the freeway from the Hollywood Bowl, and it's just about 1,000 seater, maybe 1,500, something like that. So it's a small amphitheater. It's a nice place to see a show. Sounded great. There's a fairly strict dB limit there of 95 dB, but it sounded actually really good to me. It didn't sound like quiet necessarily. Maybe they just, avoided the dB limit, or ignored it or something. But it actually said the mix was terrific. I could hear everybody really well. It was a good show. So those are the main two things I've seen in the last week. I don't think I've seen another band other than at the Cavern Club. They reconstituted. I guess the Cavern Club it's not quite the same angle. It's 90 degrees off from the way where the stage was in the original Cavern and stuff. But you go way down the stairs and get all the way down there, and it looks like they use 75% of the original materials to reconstruct it. That's really cool. Let me show you on my phone. Just I don't know, a little something from there, so you can kind of get the vibe. I'll find like a cool. I took a bunch of video and stuff, and the band that was playing in there was really fun. I thought. I don't know. They were just a trio doing classic Beatles stuff, but it was cool. Let's see. There's some videos. What's this one? Let's see what we got here. Here's these guys. Let's see what It's probably not gonna sound like much coming through the YouTube compression and whatever, but that was the idea. Trio playing in there. It was really fun. I just had a couple ciders and hung out. It was cool. Great column on picks in Premier Guitar. Thanks. That's from Rocamp. Yeah, picks is always like it's like, oh yeah, those change the tone. So I thought that's a good thing to do a column on. Greetings from Australia. We got Benjamin here from Australia. Let's see. What else we got here? Prayers for people in the Bahamas. I agree, man. It's really bad what's going on there right now. And Florida's got to stay safe. I hope they get out of there. And who knows? I'd heard some reports that maybe it was going to skirt the coast, but I don't know. Todd in Charlotte says, hey, Pete, recently splurged on a pair of A7Xs. Do you set the roll-offs or tweeter volumes flat? I do, yeah. They've got some, tilts and stuff for the EQ on the back. Getting used to the new sound, very flat, not as much bass as my previous setup. I wonder what you had before. It's always a learning curve, Whatever you get used to mixing on is always kind of that's the thing. You can get used to something and then, anything else is different. I'm like that with headphones. I got these Audio Technicas that are fuller than my Sonys, and it's like, I don't know exactly what's going on in the bass, even though they sound good, Yeah. Any advice to save up for my signature model guitar? I'm honored. That's from Wilmer. You got to do the get your paycheck and then set aside a percentage every month thing, I guess. Take 5% for every paycheck or 10%, and then you won't even feel it. You just put it away. Thank you, though, that you're interested in the guitar. I appreciate that. Dennis says, hey, Pete, I watch the replay every Sunday. This is the first time I get to go live. When are you going to be in Nashville? I don't know that, actually. I'm going to miss NAMM this year because I'm going over to play with those folks in the UK in January, and I'm sad about the fact that I'll miss NAMM. But maybe I'll go to Summer NAMM next year because I've never been. So I was thinking that might be a cool thing. I'll have to check it out. What's the best way you've found to expand your chord vocabulary, says David. Geez, there's so many chord books and instructional material out there. I would it depends really largely on the style of music you're into and stuff, but you could just try learning more tunes too that have, Chord Chemistry is an incredible book from Ted Green, and he called it Chord Casualties. I remember when he was still living, because it's so deep, but studying all the, triads and 4-note voicings and everything like that, and every inversion all the way up the neck. And it's a pretty special book, even just to have, because Ted was so cool. There's a few ideas. My audio hasn't worked since Windows update, so I didn't notice anything, says Thomas. You must just watch us. You must be a lip reader then. It's too bad your audio is not working though. The tempo board look great. How are they in real life? Is that what this one is? See, I didn't even know that. I thought it might be. I was like, who makes this pedal board? And I guess that's what this is. It's quite light as far as I can tell, the board itself, even though it's loaded with pedals. It's not a very heavy pedal board. Should we take another look at it? There's one pedal in here that's not quite mounted right, but anyway, these boards have all these holes in them like that. You're seeing the bottom, and this one pedal wasn't tied down when I got it. So, oh, it must be part of the mounting thing. Maybe it just came loose in shipping or something. But anyways, it's got these little patch bays on the side and stuff. And to be honest, I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to the board or the power. I just kind of got into the sounds today, and it works fine. It was all, sounding good and stuff when I plugged it in. A whole bunch of pedals on there. For the 2 from Keeley, 2 from Friedman, the Way Huge Green Rhino, a Wampler, Paisley Drive, the 2 preamps, LaClean and LaLead from 2 Notes, and MXR Badass, and a Boss Super Overdrive Waza edition. So that's what's on there. Okay, you guys, what else have we got here? Tim Pierce got all the great pedals. Yeah, he got it pretty nice. I was given a choice, and I did choose a different board, and they sent this one to me, and they said, that's the one you picked. And I said, no, I said the mod board. But I don't think it was the one that, it might have been the one that Tim got, actually. Tim, what the hell? I don't know. I got this one, and I wrote them, and I said, I think there's been a mistake. And they wrote me back and they said, no, that's the one you chose, number 18. And by then there was photos they'd sent me in a Dropbox. And by then you couldn't access the Dropbox anymore. But I wrote in the email, I said, number 18, the mod board, modulation board. I should have been more specific, I guess. And I got this board with all these drives on it. So, but this is first world friggin' problems right now. So it's okay. It's funny, but I did a video where I basically dialed up the Fender Bassman clean. I've had some people say lately, a lot of people say lately, like, well, you always play through these expensive amps. It'd be nice if you played through some cheap amps. I'm like, all right, I'm going to use my Bassman because I paid $300 for it. So it's a 66 Fender Bassman, but it cost me $300. So that's a cheap amp. Even on the used market now, you can get them for, you see them routinely kind of for under $1,000. So it's not an expensive amplifier. So I used the Bassman, and I used my 70s Marshall JMP and dialed the JMP for kind of a light crunch, and I dialed the Fender relatively clean. Pretty much almost all the way clean. And then I just switched between them using my Ampete switcher. The Ampete remote, which is right here, has this great AB feature on it. So I just do that, and I can hear the relays switching over there right now between number 7 and number 3. That's the Marshall and the Fender. And you can easily just AB between 2 amps. And, if you're trying to decide which one you want to use or something for a certain part, that's pretty cool. Mike is in the top chat there. He says, have you heard the new Big Wreck? I haven't, actually. I got to listen to it. I got to listen to that. I got to go watch that video somebody else mentioned earlier. I got all kinds of stuff to watch. And the other thing I got to do right now is find my phone and check the AC because I'm hot as hell. Where's the Nest app? Just before we continue on here, I can never figure out which one it is. You got so many apps on your phone and you can't see. Open Nest app. That's how I do that. Then I don't have to look. Come on, connect. I got to take a listen to the Big Wreck. Organization, not now. I want to set that up. Come on, give me the thing. Let me change it. All right. What else we got here? We got Rhett Schultz in the house. What's up, dude? And we've got somebody asking me if I have exclusive agreements with stores that prevent me. This is in the top chat. It's Todd. That prevent me from live streaming or archiving the clinics. Would be helpful for peeps that don't live in the immediate area. Well, you're in Charlotte. I believe I am coming to North Carolina to do a clinic pretty soon. And it's actually me that doesn't. I ask that the clinics are not live streamed. The reason is because it's a formatted clinic that I do. I'm kind of doing a similar thing every time. And quite honestly, I don't want the clinic live stream because I figure if it's out there, then people aren't going to come to see it. Because they'll be like, well, I watched it on the internet. Why would I go to see it? Because they can just watch it. And it's kind of like watching a gig on the internet. Like if the gig's just live streamed, then people go, oh, I'm not going to go, buy the ticket and go to the show. I've already watched it on YouTube, or I can sit at home and watch it on my big screen or whatever. Not saying that that's going to be everybody, but my thinking is that I do so much on YouTube that I really want to meet people in person and have a one-on-one interaction, and not have it all be about going on the internet, because it's like it's my way of bringing the internet into a live setting where I can actually shake hands and meet people. It's the most fun thing is getting to meet people, and they say, "Oh, you're a real person. You're not just some guy on a screen," and we get to talk, and human interaction. That's the thing. So I am coming to North Carolina, though, I think, in a couple months. So maybe I get a chance to see you there. I mean, I'm trying to hit as much of these places as I can. I'm leaving on Sunday. This is taking up, a fair amount of my time in the fall is going to be these clinics for the next, all over Europe, and then a few more in the States. And I really, I'm enjoying them. And I really just kind of want to meet people in person and have it be something outside of YouTube and outside of the internet. And yeah, because the internet's been great, but to be honest, I want to live in real life a little bit more these days. I'm feeling a little isolated and lonely or something with all the YouTube stuff. And so that's part of the reason why I'm going to do the Classic Rock Show in January. I got to get out and play some shows and see some people in person and stuff. It's just part of my life that I'm missing right now. I need that balance of like real life, getting out and getting my face out of my phone, and getting my face out of the computer and stuff, and meeting people in person. I feel like it's, for my sanity and stuff, it's a good thing, Oh, Monster Base TV says, "Hey Pete, you need to pair up an EVH 5150 and a Marshall 150 watt cabinet." Well, that sounds like what's a 150 watt cabinet? What kind of speakers are those? 30, 60, 90, what's that? 35 watt speakers? What's that? What kind of cabinet are you talking about? Are you talking about a 212 cabinet with 275s? I used to have a 5150. I had one when they first came out, and I used it on tour quite a bit. Steven said he's ready to order a new neck, but he's undecided between roasted maple or quarter sawn maple. Can't you do roasted quarter sawn? I don't think those two things are mutually exclusive. Or are they? You might know something I don't, but can't you get a roasted quarter sawn neck? I would think roasted necks, in my experience, are quite stable, like really stable. They don't really move that much at all. Like the Modern I have, that happens to be sitting on the stand right there. You can see it sitting right there. That guitar has got one of the original Sir roasted necks on it, which is more than they roast them now. And the neck never moves. It never moves. It's just, so I can pretty much say a roasted neck is stable. Just thought 38-second clip at the Austin Guitar House. What the hell? I missed this. That's Spider. Yeah, I did a clinic at Austin Guitar House. It was really fun, actually. That one went really well. They all were good. That one was, I don't know. It was a nice vibe. You know what it was? The folks in Austin asked great questions. Not that people didn't anywhere else. They do, and they always do. But they were really kind of like, so when you wrote this to this in an effects pedal board, like how do you feel? It was like these really like, oh, the other thing that I remember about it is that the questions they asked were almost things I was forgetting to say. And it was like, wow, that's a great question that you asked that sort of adds value to the clinic with an answer. It's like, I hadn't thought of that I should probably bring that up. And there was a lot of those types of things going on in Austin. And I guess it's just because folks are pretty great guitar players there. And most of the folks in the room are probably, pretty good musicians, I would say. I'm glad I didn't, see any of them play before. I probably would have been intimidated. But anyways, it was just a really good clinic. And yeah, as far as the small clips from the clinics, I don't mind if it's like, if somebody puts up a 30-second clip or a 25-second clip or something like that. But I just don't want the whole thing live streamed. Any experience with the Mesa Boogie Tri-Axis? Only a little. I've played through it a little bit. I played through a quad, and I played through the original studio preamp I used to own. I had a studio in a 295 for a while in the early 90s, and it was, silly. Once I was in LA and I had that stuff, like, I'm not going to haul this 12-space rack with this power amp that weighs 100 pounds around. So then I actually got an original Block Logo 5150. That was my next amp. And I used that amp quite a bit in cover bands and stuff. I think I had a PV cabinet too, like PV 412, maybe with those Sheffield speakers and that amp. And that was my main amp until I got a DSL 50, one of the originals, I think. Yeah. I didn't have a lot of gear for a lot of years there. And then I got top hats, I remember, and a Bogner. I had a Bogner Ecstasy, one of the originals, and I had a top hat King Royale, and I still have that Amplexador that's down there in the bottom of my rack over there. I got that around 2000, 2001. The Marshall DSL 50, that came around 97, 98, 99, something like that. And I used that amp a lot because that's when I started really getting touring gigs. And just so happened the DSL 50 was a really common amp on backline. You know, you could get it, you could always backline one. So I was comfortable using it. I knew it wasn't like the best sounding amp in the world, but it was a good sounding amp. And I could always rent one when we were flying to do something somewhere in one of these bands I was playing with at the time. So, yeah, the internet should take a day off and call it Human Interaction Day, says Mark. True. True. So the roasted is more stable, but how does it affect the tone? I don't know that it affects the tone. That's Kevin. I have a roasted, I have a completely roasted Sir Classic, and it does sound really good, and it is resonant and stuff. One would assume that it sounds drier. You know, you'd have to direct. I mean, it's not like I've taken to do these things and offer an informed answer. I would have to take, say, 2 Sir Classics that were made at the exact same time, out hopefully from wood from the same, you know, about the same weight and the exact same whatever, and then roast one of them. Don't roast the other one, and then listen to them side by side. You know, I did that, for example, with. And this is always my answer to the tone wood argument, guys. I did that for a video with Vintage King. They sent me 2 tellies, or 2 T's and 2 S's. One was alder with a maple board, and one was alder with a rosewood board, and the other one was swamp ash with a maple board. In both cases, with both the S and the T style guitars. So I had your 50s style and your 60s style, basically, all with the same pickups, I believe. And I could directly A/B those 4 guitars, you know, and listen to the, you know, alder rosewood versus swamp ash maple. And I always steer the tone wood guys to those videos because they are as you would think. The alder ones sound a little warmer, a little fuller through the mids. The swamp ash ones are a little more scooped and springy, and you know, that kind of thing. And I always say, well, you can hear it. There it is twice. S-type, T-type guitars that both sort of exhibit those characteristics. That video is on YouTube if anybody wants to check it out. But I would have to do the exact same thing with a roasted and non-roasted, and I haven't done that. But I do like the idea of the roasted woods. It definitely seems to make the wood more stable. It dries it out, and I think it looks really nice. So I sort of don't see the downside with the roasted stuff, to be honest. We got almost 300 people online. That's awesome. Thanks for being here, you guys, on, you know, Labor Day weekend. And, you know, everybody should be just hanging out. Maybe you are just hanging out. Maybe this is your break after dinner or something. I don't know. Instead, you're joining me to talk about gear. I do appreciate it. X Gear is up in the top chat. He says, would you have time to do a pedal review for my company? We are located in LA. Send me an email. There's an email contact form on my website. And you can always just hit me up there, or just Pete Thorn at ymail.com. That works too. And let's talk. I'll send you, you know, kind of the standard sort of rundown of what's going on. I've always got that table back there. You can see is loaded up with pedals right now. There's always a bit of a backlog, and I always explain that to people. It take me a little bit of time to get to your demo because once again, it's first world problems. That's for sure. But it's yeah, every one I make myself, and I do all the editing and all the filming and all the writing of the music and playing and everything. And they're just kind of time consuming. So the most I can kick out seems to be a couple a week. So it just kind of takes time. So if you don't mind waiting a little bit and stuff, I'd be happy to. And as long as I like it, that's the only thing, you know. And I always send out a little spiel about that. I have to like the gear because, you know, I don't do demos of things I don't like and say, isn't this great? That's not me. I always play through it, make sure I can get at least a good sound that I'm happy. I always say a good sound, you know, something that, yeah, that sounds good. It doesn't have to be like incredible, but it would be like, this is solid. I can see somebody using this in this way through one of these amps or whatever, and it'll work great. You know, that's kind of how I approach it. And then, so it's anything from a good solid tone all the way through to this is like the best thing I've ever heard is kind of what I like to do. If it sounds really bad, then I just sort of avoid it. Bad to me. Doesn't mean the pedal sounds bad. Just means that maybe I'm not the right guy, you know. If you don't get it, you don't get it. Some people hate fuzz tones. I love them, you know. Just depends. Okay. Hey, a basement is what they use for all the guitars on Nevermind, cheaper or not. I don't know about that. Wasn't it partially the studio preamp? I thought it was a rat pedal through studio preamp. You might be right. Maybe they did use it, or maybe they used it for some of it. I'd love to ask Butch Vig that question. I know he used the studio preamp through like a Crown solid state power amp or something, and he used to play some different pedals through it. But maybe that was just live. I was always under the impression that that was one of the things that he used in the studio, but I don't know. Alrighty. They sent the hardboard to the man that can make it sound the best, says Dracula. Says I have great taste. I don't know if it's a hardboard. It's. I mean, there's some great pedals on there. It is just overdrives, which I've done a lot of, you know. But I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, what I'll do is just dial up a good solid couple tones, and then I'll dial in each pedal kind of to sound pretty good right now, and then like I'll loosely get them dialed in, and then I'm just going to push record on the camera and push record in Logic and start recording. Then I'm going to go through each pedal, bang through the amps, and I'll just edit it down to be about a minute of each pedal. Once I kind of, probably each pedal you had to dial a little bit, like, that's what I had to do, like kind of turn a couple things to dial it in once I started recording. But it's a very loose kind of, which is a different kind of video from me. And, occasionally I get, comments from people saying, I like it when it's not so produced. And well, that's what this video is. This video is just me playing random stuff through, like we're in the music store and turning on some different pedals and then dialing them in and kind of, does that one work? What do you think of this one? Well, let's move on. Let's go to this one, So it's that kind of video. Yeah. Let's see here. What else we got? Just paging back a little bit in the chat. The Batig says, was there any blowback from the Wampler post this week? I haven't talked to Brian about it. Brian put out a video and I sort of just put out another, like a little bit of a, I don't know, about a rebuttal even, he was very complimentary to me in his video. I just sort of didn't really understand what he was trying to say. It was a video basically saying like maybe we shouldn't trust demo videos so much, and I thought it was a little bit odd because a Wampler, number one, they hired me to make demo videos, so I thought it was like a strange video in a way. I guess it was. I like Brian, so I don't want to, he's a good guy and we have a good rapport and everything. I was sort of like almost just publicly having almost what I would have a conversation with him, just saying like, why'd you make that video? Like, because that's sort of, I just don't agree. I think that, and I actually posted on my Instagram a Wampler the Doctor video that I made a demo for them. And I said, I don't think that the type of microphone or even the kind of amplifier or guitar that I use in this video would affect someone's perception of whether or not, like the way that the Doctor delay sounds is so distinct that you hear it in that video, and you can make an informed decision whether or not you would want to maybe buy the thing, I would think, from my video, because it's got a very distinct tone character. Maybe he's got a point that not every pedal is that distinct and you need to play it in person, I guess, but I don't know. I thought it was a little bit of an odd video, but we haven't talked about it, and I'm sure, I think it's probably all good. It's just, a couple little, it's just like a little debate on the internet or something. Metalhead Hippie's in the top chat. He says, knowing all you know, what guitar have you heard would you consider to be the ultimate metal guitar and rig? Something that blew you away from metal. Well, metal. There's probably a lot of people out there on the internet that would, if they were here listening, say, he's not a metal guy. Don't ask him that, But metal, it's like, that's a great question, man. Because I always kind of like, I love Yngwie because he plays, they're not quite single coils, are they? But I love that he plays a high gain, heavily distorted kind of hard stuff on an original Strat, that's modified a bit. But that was a oxymoron, I guess. I liked in the 70s when people kind of used or when you'd see like John Sykes or something use a Strat. I always liked that. Or Gary Moore, Gary Moore played some of his heaviest stuff on a Strat and some of his most mellow stuff on a Les Paul. But if we're talking about modern kind of metal, Dimebag's rig sound pretty vicious, right? That was Randall and the X2N, right? I mean, or no, Bill Lawrence. Did he use a Bill Lawrence pickup? That's right. Pretty vicious. What else? Great metal rig. I guess the Gojira guys who I love Gojira, that band. I love their songs, man. That record they made that came out a few years ago. What's the Gojira record that I love so much? If you guys listen to them, they made this record that's all about their mom passing away, and it's a really deep record. The videos are incredible from the record. I don't know. I just love stuff that, you know, is real and kind of hits me. And it was definitely that. What's the record called? I'm gonna find the album. It's not Magma, is it? That's the latest one. I'm gonna look on iTunes real quick. Anyway, I think they play 5150s, which is a pretty great metal amp, especially for the dough, you know. I think Metal Tone, maybe it is Magma. I think it is Magma, actually. I'm just gonna go to albums here and double check. I think that is it. Such great videos on that record. Oh yeah, The Shooting Star, The Cell, those songs. This is such a great record. In honor of their late mother, brothers Joe and Mario of French metallurgist Gojira respond to tragedy with some of the most emotional songs of their career. Epic sweets yield to sharpened body blows. That's a pretty good review. For every pummeling track like Silvera and The Cell, there are moving salutes like The Shooting Star. Shooting Star is really great. Where sadness and depression transform into submission and ultimately salvation. It's a good review. Terrific record. Anyway, I got off topic there, but one of my favorite metal bands, like, you know, that's around now. Watch some of the videos from that record, man. They're cool. They're so cool. Metal and tone. You know, I think that I'm probably not the best guy to ask, to be honest, but my impression is that you can get a great metal sound out of a lot of heavy amps. And what I would recommend, you know, like an Engel, recently I did a video for the Synergy, and I liked some of the Engel, the Powerball module, was it? Or the Savage, I think it was. Great sounding module, maybe that's the one that really sticks in my mind, actually, from doing the Synergy demo. So maybe some Engel stuff, but a big part of it is EQ, you know. And it's like, I think you could take a lot of amps. I love Adam's Tone from Tool. A lot of people don't consider them they're probably more like a progressive band, not a metal band, I guess, to a lot of people. But he's got an amazing guitar sound. It's kind of more about the parts you play, and like maybe, you know, how aggressive the vocals are and stuff defines maybe even more, because a lot of modern amps will get that dirty and driving. So he gets an incredible sound. He plays a Les Paul Custom. My Les Paul Custom is kind of a heavier sounding guitar from my collection, and it's in the guitar. It's not really in the pickups. It's something to do with I believe his guitar is probably one of the maple neck models, which can add a different. It's like a deeper, more. I don't know. My Custom has a heavier, deeper bass than any of my other Les Pauls. I'll just say that. And there's also the ebony fingerboard, and it's just kind of a different sound. So, and Adam's thing was always mixing an old, I believe it's a Marshall Super Bass, but modded maybe to Super Lead spec. Maybe I have to ask Dave Friedman because he did it, I think. And then he either uses a diesel or a, you know, dual recto, you know, and those two things combined, that can make for just a devastatingly huge distortion sound, because you're filling in that you've got that vintage kind of, you know, less gain in the punch and stuff in the Marshall, and then you've got the grindy modern huge sounding amp in there, but that's maybe not so, maybe just different. It's different mids, isn't it? You know. Yeah. There's my long-winded ass, I would say angle diesel, maybe diesel blended with a vintage amp, or angle, or dual rectifier blended with a vintage Marshall or something. 5150, and then maybe add an EQ to the equation. I always thought the old VHT sounded great for metal too. I mean, I remember playing an original 50 CL, and that amp was really vicious sounding. They had the graphic and stuff, and it had a really cool sound. Yeah. Okay, I better get going down here. Let's see. I'm gonna look down through the chat here. Looking for a question here. Which Wampler's on the board they sent you? It's a Paisley Drive. Yeah, Paisley Drive pedal. I have a light overdrive. It's got an interesting EQ switch on it that lets you kind of shift the mids from being kind of mid boost to mid cut. And let's see here. Looking down. That's a cool control for the MP. Yeah, having the remote for the MP is super great. I mean, with this remote, you can select cabs. So I'm on number 3 right now, which means it's my live cab. I used a mic'd greenback for the video. If I go to 2, it's now the aux. If I go to 1, it's now the Sir reactive load. So I can switch like that, or just go back to my live cab room. And then I've got 1 through 8 as far as the selector goes in the amps. You just do the same thing, type it in, and then once you've selected, I blew out my, okay, right. So now I got to go 0, 1 and go 0, 3 amp like that. Okay, and now I can go from 7. Oops. How do I cancel? There. I can just switch this button right here. Now I'm going between, that's the Marshall and that's the Fender, both going through the cab. Boom, just like that. And it switches. It's so cool. It's really great. Very efficient. Somebody's up in the top chat. It's Secret Story. He says he's been doing a lot in Ableton lately and find plugins quicker and more flexible than rigging up an amp, mic, or reactive load IR. Outside of the UA Sims, can you recommend any others that you've used? For amp modeling, I like the Line 6 Helix, which comes, as a plugin as well. So give that a go. I know there's a bunch of other stuff coming out soon, because people have talked to me about stuff. So there's going to be new stuff released soon. But the Helix and the UA stuff are my main go-tos, I guess, if I'm doing that kind of thing. I tend to use the hardware Helix still more because I have it here in the rack, and I don't know, I just commit to the sound and print it like I would an amp. But I use it a lot for bass, and I like that Placator model in it, which is like the BE100. That's what's dialed up on it right now. Actually, I'm looking at it, and it sounds really good. I still haven't experimented with the new stuff. I just haven't had time. There's that new software update or whatever, and I haven't, the firmware update, I should say. I haven't had time to experiment with the new ones. I know it seems to get a lot of rave reviews, like whatever the very latest stuff in there is. Hey, Pete, have you ever played through a Trainwreck Express, Rocket, or Liverpool, says Steve. I actually played through, I have, and I actually one day got to play through like 3 or 4 in one day. Because my friend Gene, who some of you guys out there might know, but he owned a company called Ultrasound Rehearsal in New York City, which was a rehearsal facility kind of in the 30s or something, like in the, Midtown, I guess. And they had Manhattan, and they had a lot of amps and cabs there that you could use. So you could go in there and rent a room with a drum kit and bass amp and all that, but you could also get all these great boutique guitar amps and, add those to your rental and try, say, a Dumbo or try a Trainwreck. And he just had this unbelievable amplifier collection. One of the things he had was, or maybe still has, is, I haven't talked to him for a while, like 5 original Trainwrecks. One was made for George Lynch. One was made for Billy Gibbons. I got to play both those back to back the same day. And they're very different. The Billy Gibbons one was lower gain, less aggressive. The George Lynch one was quite aggressive. Pretty neat. So those were Rocket heads, I guess, or What? Oh wait, now I'm forgetting the name of that. What's the train wreck with the EL34s? Ecstasy, because that's the Bogner. Is that a rocket? I think. Or is it an Express? Is that what it's called? An Express? Somebody's going to be able to tell me out there. Anyway, the EL34 sort of 35 watt one. And then there's the Liverpool, which was, is EL84s. Okay. Who else we got in the house here? Try over 100 Fahrenheit for 39 days now, says Mark. Where do you live, dude? You got some heat going on. Oh, dude, when are you coming to Charlotte? Says Rhett. Hey, Rhett, what's up? I think it's like October, late October, and I don't know that it's Charlotte actually, but it's North Carolina. So I need to find out the dealer and the name and stuff, and it hasn't been officially announced, but we're still just working out the details. But we'll have it locked down pretty soon. That's Kevin also asking. Kevin Fontana, North Carolina, when, where? Yeah, man, I hope it happens. We're looking at in the Baltimore sort of DC area. We're looking at North Carolina, and then there was one somewhere else. Can't remember. Pittsburgh, I believe. So those could happen in the end of the towards end of fall, middle fall, I guess. End of October. All right. Let's see. My niece hurts, says I can't remember the last time I touched my thermostat. Around here, you got to do it on a regular basis. It's been hot here. It was hot last night, man. I just got back, so I'm a little jet lagged right now. So if I seem out of it, sorry. It's probably like 4 or 5 in the morning UK time, I guess. So let's see. The clinic at Austin Guitar House was sold out before I even knew about it, says Zigber ID. It's quite a small venue they had. It's not a big store, so it was relatively tight in there, but it was cool. What's the hardest genre of music for me to play? Well, there's all kinds of stuff I can't play. That's Robbie Rose asking that. I mean, I'm not a jazz guitar player, really. I was just watching some like Josh Smith stuff today on True Fire. I should keep watching it and keep learning some more. But yeah, playing through changes and a lot of key changes and stuff like that is really, I'm a rock and roll guitar player, so it's a tough thing for me. Toronto Clinic was awesome, says McLean Classics. Thanks, man. Yeah, Toronto was fun up at Cosmo. That still could be one of the biggest ones I've done. I think it was about 250 people. That was rad. That was great. They really did a great job promoting. Yeah. All right. Christopher says, ever play a PV Classic 20? Yeah, it was a good amp. Classic 20. I actually got a Classic 30 thinking it was going to be like a slightly bigger Classic 20, and it was nowhere near as cool as a Classic 20. I sold one when I was still a rack rig moron, and I am lamenting it every day. EL84 Class A gorgeous power tube compression. It was a good sounding amp. The Classic 20, really cool little amp for sure. I agree with you 100%. Got good memories of that. The other EL84 kind of high gainer that was fun to play through was I had an original Boogie caliber 50 when they were EL84s, and I love that amp. It was a really good sounding amp, and I only kept it for a couple months because the tubes red plated, and I thought, oh no, it's unreliable, because I was stupid and young then, and I thought bad to how it is. So then I got the Studio Pre and a 295, and that was cool, but it wasn't nearly as, of course, the 50 watt EL84 high gain thing, whatever it did, it was, and I don't know if maybe they were having problems with the tubes, or maybe it was probably the amp design, but they quickly switched to the Caliber 50 Plus, which had 6 L6s in it instead, and it wasn't the same. It sounded kind of buzzy compared to the EL84 version. Okay. John Cougar. John Cougar. Is that John Cougar Mellencamp? No, John Cougar says, if we could only get a Ritual or Pete Thorn clinic in Canberra. I've been there. It's the capital city, right, in Australia. We're talking about Australia. I don't know about there, but maybe. But I'm not sure. But we are kind of discussing Asia and Australia and all kinds of stuff. So we'll see. Randy says, appearance on that pedal show? Maybe. Still working on some stuff for that. We'll see what happens. I guess we got to lock it down pretty quick because it's like coming up fast. Any other clinics coming up soon? Anything near Philly, Baltimore, DC? Yes. Yeah, the Baltimore thing may be happening. So we'll see. I think it's going to happen October. We appreciate the in-person stuff. It's great you do these clinics, says Mark. Yeah, I love it, man. It's fun. Thanks. I appreciate it too. I love getting out and meeting folks and stuff. It's good times. Basically, you're saying you don't want to burn out, says Carrie. I totally feel you, man. Self-isolating even unintentionally isn't healthy. Yeah, I just I don't know. The YouTube thing is great. Obviously, I love it, and it's been really great. But it's all about just achieving a balance, I think, is what it is. And doing too much, it's. I don't want to like. This is all once again, it's quality problems. But like, I've had like, I had to send an email today to somebody because they're like, they're trying to hire me to do something, and it's work, and I hadn't gotten back to the guy in a few days, and he said, honestly, I need a little bit faster email communication from you. Otherwise I may have to get somebody else. It's just sort of like, and I totally understand his perspective actually, and I don't disagree with it. It's just like, I wrote him back and I said, man, I'm sorry. I said, there's only one of me. And I said, you have to consider, just from my perspective, I just want to let you know that I'm doing all the editing and the music and the writing and the cameras and everything. And I do it all myself. And I said, each one of these videos, they take me a couple days to make, and I really have to turn off the phone, and I have to turn everything off, because if I start answering things, then it just doesn't get done. And then I'm nowhere because I don't get anything done. And then if I take some gigs and stuff, because I don't want to give up gigging completely, and if I'm out playing or I go away for a few days, it's just like, you got to learn the songs and you still got to learn it. You know how it is. It's like, you're just trying to keep up and get stuff done. And it's this modern world we live in. And everybody, all you guys deal with it, no matter what business you're in. It's your phone and your text and your, the emails going off and your Facebook messages, and people want to know, and they want to know now, and they want an answer. And when you don't answer, they're like, why aren't you writing me back? And you're like, because I got 800 other bells, buzzes, whistles going off, and I was trying to write a song or whatever. And this is stuff we all deal with, right? And it's just like, so I said, and I haven't read his email back, but I think he said, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be, I saw a little, I read it, but I didn't have time to read it because I was coming here to do this, which I was late for. There's only so much time. And so it's like striking that balance of just, I don't know, like it's because whatever's going on between here and here, you want it to stay together, right? You don't want to, basically lose your shit. So, so that's been the nice thing about the clinics, is just getting out and kind of like, it's oh yeah, this is real world again. Like it's, I remember going to Colorado last week. It's a small town, or Austin's a nice town. You go there and you just set your stuff up. 20, 30 people filter in, you hang out, you can talk and meet. It feels good to talk to people and meet people in person, and have real one-on-one exchanges, because I love this. This is great, but I got to balance it also with, and the making of the videos and stuff, with just some real world hangs. So, anyways, Lauren says, I'm here for you, Pete. I appreciate that, Lauren. Thanks. Yeah, anyways, it's all good, but it's just, balance is, I know everybody out there knows exactly what I'm talking about, striking it, because I don't even have kids. Some of you guys, I don't know how you do it, man. When I think about, like, balancing a job and family, and it's got to be crazy, for a lot of folks out there. So sleep deprivation and how do you remember how to do things, how to pay all your bills and even tie your shoes? Are you replacing Howie G? Says waiting for an alibi. I am. Yeah, Howie, I think I don't know much about Howie, but he seems like a nice person. He put out a nice post about he's going to be going on and doing his own thing. He's got other projects going on. He said nice things about me, and I really appreciate that. And I know he's got a lot of fans, and so I wish him all the best. And I think the band kind of I didn't clarify here. I'm talking about the classic rock show lineup. I think they change members, or it fluctuates and rotates a little bit throughout over the years, because it's a it is a going out and playing classic rock songs and stuff like that. So it's I don't think it's everybody's band forever necessarily. It's a thing that different people are going to come in and do make appearances and stuff like that over the years. Oh man, I'm burping. Excuse me. Anyways, but yeah, I wish Howie all the best, and I'm gonna hopefully do a nice job and fill his shoes and do my own thing, put my own spin on it. So where can we see you, Pete, at these clinics, says Brent. If you're in the US, there's going to be 3 dates at least announced pretty soon. Like I say, they'll all be kind of East Coast. There's talk of others as well, but those are the ones right now. And like I said, it's Baltimore and North Carolina, maybe Pittsburgh, I think. Just haven't quite firmed them up yet, but more info on that soon. And then in Europe, there's a whole list of dates that's already on my Instagram and also on my Facebook. There's a photo of me with the red guitar on the PT-50, and it says Pete Thorn European Clinics. You'll find it if you just kind of go. It's within the last 6 or 7 posts on my IG and also on my Facebook music page. And you'll see all the dates on there with the music stores listed as well, where I'll be. Yeah. Let's see. Moving down. Am I still using the Strymon Mobius? I am. It's on my main board. Terrific pedal. That's Chris Cam. I can't see getting rid of it. Does a terrific job. So Social Distortion this weekend, says Robert. Mr. Ness had a P9070s Gibson through a cranked Bassman with a Klon. Good tone. Yeah, God tone or good tone. It is really good, and we played on the same bill with Social D when I was with Chris Cornell, and I stood side stage and watched him. And the other thing that struck me is he does not use monitors, or at least he didn't at that gig. So no in-ears and no wedges, maybe just side fills, and that Bassman through a 412 cranked and that old Les Paul, and it was great. It was great sound, really cool. He's used that rig forever. How do you stay in shape? Any tips are appreciated, says SD Design. I've been pretty lax about going to the gym, although I've been a couple times recently, not enough, but I need to get there. I have a gym membership, and I like to go and run a couple miles when I go. I'll just do like 2 miles. It takes me 25 to 30 minutes or something like that, fast walk, run, sort of alternating. And then I do light weights, and that's it. And then other than that, I don't eat gluten. And that's a big one, because you lose all those carbs, and not eating all those carbs is really helpful for, as we get older, we all slow down a bit, and it's like I find it harder if I do gain weight to take it off again. So not putting it on in the first place for me, I guess, gluten makes me feel terrible. I get really bloated, and I know probably I figured it out in 2012 or something, and I quit eating it then. Had I been eating it all this time, I'd probably be 10 or 15 pounds heavier right now. But you just don't eat all that carbs, is the thing. Like, you go to look at that whole counter in the Starbucks or whatever, and you're like, man, I'm hungry. Wish I could just get a muffin or whatever, or donuts, or like anything that's, because I love stuff like that, or like pizza all the time or whatever. Like, it's not that I don't dig it. I do, but I didn't feel good, and so I quit eating that stuff, the gluten, and all of a sudden I felt way better. I wasn't so all the time, and in pain really. And then I guess the bonus thing is you just don't really put on weight then, which is pretty cool. I mean, I still have a little bit, but it's like, it's avoiding all those carbohydrates, I think, that really helps. And then you don't have to work as hard. I've got friends literally that stopped gluten, not to go on a whole tirade about this because it's a music thing, but I've got friends that stopped anywhere from their 50s into their 60s. My uncle was one of the first people I saw do it right around the time I stopped. He stopped earlier than me, and he looked all thin all of a sudden. I was like, what have you been doing? Like, how'd you get, and he said, I quit eating gluten. I dropped like 15 pounds. So I thought that was amazing. And I've got other friends too, like numerous friends that were like 50 plus, and they stopped and they just dropped all this weight. It was like without doing anything else, you know. It was amazing. But so I highly recommend it for that. It really seems to help if anybody's interested. But what else? What else? Let's move down here. I think I'm way back in the chat, so I'm going to move down a bit. Let's see. Will TC Electronic update their Nova system to a new model? They seem to be out of the multi-effects market. I'm not sure. I know they were working on things. That's all I'll say. But everybody I know at TC is kind of gone now, except for one person maybe. I don't really know anybody there anymore. You know, Tor was there and some other folks, and the company's just gone through a lot of changes since being purchased by Music Group, and so I'm not really too hip with what's going on there right now at all. But I do think that would be a great product for them, even the Nova or an updated G system, because that was pretty cool. It was really ahead of its time, especially the G system. So hard to say, I don't know what they got planned. There was a Fender Super. Oh, I don't. You guys are talking amongst yourself. That's music therapy. Let's see. Kevin says, I've got the JCM 2000. I guess a DSL, you mean? And I love it. It's the 100 watt. Sounds good, but it is loud and heavy. Dave Friedman does some nice mods to those, by the way, if you're interested. I know he did them to Billy Morrison from Billy Idol's band, the rhythm guitar player. He did those mods to his. He's got a couple nice mods that kind of help him out, make them sound pretty great. The lead channel always was a little like weird to me. The cleaner channel, or sort of JCM 800, clean to JCM 800 channel, that always sounded pretty good to me. But the lead channel had a slightly weird kind of EQ to it or something. But Dave does some neat stuff to them, if you're interested. Yeah. What else we got here? Something just skipped, and I was like trying to answer this. I saw a question from somebody that I wanted to answer, and then I just lost it. Just give me a sec here. Let me see if I can find it again. Sorry, guys. I was just starting to read it, and then it jumped to the end. While I'm looking, Zen Guitar Guy says the best advice I ever got was to learn to delegate. You can get an intern and people who can help you and free up your time. I think that's great advice overall. It's just hard sometimes. It's like it's a combination of being a control freak and then delegating can be tough, right? But I believe that you're right. Another one while I'm looking for the last question I lost here. A question on buffers on a medium to large pedal board with time-based and modulation pedals going through the loop. How many buffers and where do you put them? It really depends on your effect loop on your amplifier. You have to check and see how well the effect loop itself is buffered. There's certain amps that are not all created equal. Like, for example, all the Sir stuff is really buffered well because John really is into that. So you don't have to worry about effect loop buffers necessarily. Just like really, you could probably put one in front of the amp, and as long as you just got a few pedals in front of the amp or whatever, you'd be cool there, depending on what you're using and stuff and where it would be in the first pedals. But some amplifiers can benefit from a buffer in the effect loop for sure. It just depends. So look into what you've got. Try one. If you've got a buffer pedal, try running the cables to and from your stuff and see what happens. If you're losing anything when you patch, first listen, like if you listen to the amp and then listen to when you've got the effects patched in but nothing on, and see if you're losing tone through the effect loop or anything like that. And then try one on the send and try one on the return, all that good stuff, and you can just use any old buffer pedal, something that buffers, and see if it helps. And you will know probably just by experimentation. But yeah. Let's see. Recommend big or small Origin Revival Drive. Well, I did that. That was the one demo video I got out this week. The only thing missing from the small one is that Ghost Notes control. Really, other than you got 2 full channels on the small one. But the small one's great. It's killer. I still got it sitting on the desk right here. There it is. This is just a really, really good sounding. It sounds Marshally to me. I mean, they say face Fender tones and all that stuff. I don't know why. It just sounds Marshally to me. I guess you probably can. The EQ isn't normal on this pedal. It's like you can pretty much turn the lows all the way off. And that sort of is like a super lead, you know. Turn it up to midway and it's supposed to be like sort of like Blackface Fender. Turn it up more and it's supposed to be like a JTM 45 when it's all the way up. So different sounds. And then the highs control is similar, like extreme settings you can do. And it works. Blend control is pretty cool. Worked great on bass, that's for sure, when I used it. So I do like it, but I tended for guitar parts to leave it all the way on 10. The post-drive EQ is where a lot of the magic stuff about this pedal happens, because you can run it into a power amp if it's all the way up, Marshall if it's in the middle, bright chime amp if it's all the way down, you know, something like that, like a Blackface Fender with a bright switch on, you know. So it's voiced for, oh no, sorry, I got that backwards. In the middle, Blackface Fender with the bright switch on, all the way down if you want it to be a little bit brighter. And then this adjustment control is like a contour control that kind of lows and low mids as you turn it. You just have to try it and see. But you can basically set this thing up to work with just about any amplifier. That's what I found. Even a solid state power amp or tube power amp or whatever, kind of anything. And it really works well. You could run it into a probably right into a, you know, speaker simulator, like a 2 notes torpedo. What's the thing? Cab. That's the one. Yeah. Make a little pedalboard bass rig. The Ghost Notes thing is cool on the big one. It adds this extra fatness and kind of that extra, you know, je ne sais quoi to the big one that is pretty nice, but it is a lot bigger. So this one sounds great. I mean, on its own. I didn't directly A/B them or anything like that. Single pedals versus multi-effects pedals. Why one or the other? Well, I think most people would agree multi-effects pedals, it's for convenience. Single pedals are like, you know, great because then you can pick and choose exact modular components for every single sound. It's just kind of more fun than a multi-effect thing. I find the multi-effects things are more sort of for utility, but they're great. And the Helix HX Effects has become a very capable partner to the PT15, especially in these clinics I'm doing. That is all I'm carrying, and it works great. I use it for a tuner, use it for everything. And it's pretty cool. Anything in the Boston area, clinic-wise right now? Not right now that I know of, but I'd love to get back up there again. I did something up there a while ago, like 2014, I think I was there doing a clinic, which was pretty fun. Let's see. What do you make of JHS's recent 1966 limited line of fuzzes and a treble booster? I haven't tried them, but I like a lot of the JHS pedals recently. Notably, that one that does every tube screamer sound is pretty great. Pretty useful pedal to have. Tom says his friend got a Fender Custom Shop 57 Tweed Deluxe clone. It sounds killer, like an old one, but quieter. Mercury Magnetics Transformers. That's cool. Ain't nothing like a Tweed Deluxe. Great sounding amp. Any 24 and 7.5 scale guitars coming from Sir? Well, that's what an Aura is, right? Short scale. Pete, what's the ETA on your Jackson-inspired Sir? John's working on the neck right now. He's actually been doing the neck this week, so it's finally happening. It took him a while to get around to it because he's busy. But yeah, it should be coming pretty soon. Yeah. Let's see. Music Therapy says your website only shows your Sir clinics. Are there other clinics not listed on your website or Facebook page? It's only the Sir clinics. That's the ones I'm doing are the Sir clinics. So there's 12 European ones listed on my Instagram. Yeah. I'm feeling kind of dehydrated. Like I'm getting a little loopy. I'm going to grab a bottle of water real quick. I'm just jet lagging too much coffee. I had a couple cups of coffee sitting here earlier. That's better. All right. Any Rory Gallagher fans here? I am. That was insane music. I love him. I think he's great. He's a burner. Brian May's inspiration. Anyone on here like the JCM 20-watt Studio Classic Marshall, says Isaac. I haven't played it yet. I love the idea of them, that's for sure. I went and looked at them at NAMM, and I've heard some videos online and stuff. I think it's a neat idea for sure. Any chance of you coming to London, Ontario? New store here is called Giver Guitar. Really? That's so Canadian. That's awesome. Giver, eh? That's cool. Are they a Sir dealer? I wonder. I'd be happy to come up there if so. Okay, well, this one question I was trying to find, I can't seem to. I don't see it again. I got started reading it, and the stupid chat jumped to the end. That fuzz pedal clean single coil video was amazing, says Frank. I guess you're talking about the one where I show the cleanup that a germanium fuzz does. Are there any amps with a clean channel that gets that sound without a pedal? Not that I know of. I mean, the closest thing is like, I guess maybe an AC30 top boost circuit kind of is that real chimey, that real chimey thing. When you think of the edges tone, on some stuff. But it's kind of a magic sound that the fuzz rolling back and it's doing something to the impedance and all that, and it makes this neat circuit that just kind of does that. Just add that Fox Gear Rainbow reverb pedal to my board, says the Batix. I'm really enjoying some of the different sounds. That's a good pedal. Daniel said, "Hey Pete, your following has got," and then that was it. It didn't come through the rest of it. Whatever you were saying. Bias amp effects too is very good, says Jim. There was a guy earlier asking about plugins, which ones, and you're right, Bias is pretty good. I've tried. I like that. I like that as well. Who is a US dealer for Pete? Pete is a guy that I'm not sure if he just sells them direct or what, but you know what? Contact Dave Friedman and ask him. Just send racksystems@yahoo.com an email and ask him how you can get in touch with Pete from Pete to buy a system, and he will know because they see each other quite a bit and they're buddies. He would know. Okay, I'm gonna move down back through the chat here and move down further because I couldn't find the thingamajig. The Zen guitar guy says, "Hey, you used to do a hang with Jamie Kime. He's an amazing guitar player. He played with. Speaking of Jamie, that played with Zappa. Plays Zappa, and he's just an unbelievable guitar player, and I'm a fan. And he's kind of a friend of mine now. Actually, he works with Friedman a lot and stuff, and I've got great respect for him and his guitar playing. He's really incredible. I actually thought about taking lessons from him. So, and we've talked about it because I'd love to sit down with him and just get my mind expanded a little bit. He's a really amazing musician. Okay. Christopher says, we had a Mesa 2020 with EL84 is great, but no point having a power section that squishes the whole signal when you have a reverb and time-based stuff before in a rack rig. I switched to a 50-50. I agree. I did a video, or not, I did a video. I didn't do a video. I did a tour or two with a 2020 and a Randall preamp, the Egnator designed one, which worked good, but it does seem like a little bit of it's like I play a 15-watt amp now and I love it, but something with the Mesa 2020 was just kind of like it just sounded small to me. I don't know. I guess that's all it was, really. I agree. Like you wanted some clean headroom and stuff like that. It wasn't really there in that power amp. Yeah. Okay. Moving down. Sasha Boo Boo is saying, don't do it unless the money's good, but I don't know what he's referring to. I'm not sure what he's talking about. Maybe he can tell me later. Elle says you're too nice, Pete. probably at times, and probably not nice enough at other times. Let's see. What's the best product you use for patch cables on a board? I really like these Providence ones. So I've used these on quite a few boards recently. These are really nice little patch cables made by Providence. And they've got these great ends. They're very compact. They're not quite as small as those flat ends, like the board that I just did, the Sweetwater board that I'm doing the video for. It's got those flat, you know what I'm talking about, right? Super flat cables, which are neat. I don't have a lot of experience with my own boards, but I do have these on a couple different pedal boards, including my main one now. And these are Providence, awesome cables. No reservations about recommending those. Yeah. Hi, Pete. I play in a medium-sized club. Is a 15-watt tube amp loud enough? Well, you just used it the other day with the band on television. It sounded fine in rehearsal. We were doing an outdoor performance, and we both had 112s, and the other guitar player had a more powerful amp than mine, but I was just as loud as he was. We weren't very loud at all. The bass was running direct and the keys were direct and all that. So it was just to get a little bit of feedback going, but the amp sounded great, long story short, with the masters all around 3 or 4, including the overall global master. And the amp gets quite a bit louder after that. And that's exact same setup I used when I played a gig with Don Henley a month and a half ago or whatever. I had it on about 3 to 4 on the masters, and he likes a pretty quiet stage, so it's not a loud stage, but it's still a live drummer, and a bass amp and another guitar player and all that stuff. The other guitar player, he was playing through maybe deluxe reverb and something else. It depends on the kind of band that you're in, but I'm sort of figuring out that for today's stages and the kind of volume levels that people are playing at these days, if you've got a live amp up there at all, it seems to be working out fine. And I still haven't used 2, like 2 in stereo, which I really want to try, like 2 212s and 2 PT15s in stereo, running the direct line to the front of the house and the monitors, but using 2 cabs on stage to fill out the sound a bit. So I kind of think so. Yeah. Oh, you're saying the person giving you grief over answering the email is a big red flag. Don't do it unless the money's good. Right. I was talking about how somebody was like, hey, can you get back to me a little sooner? I think I don't blame them at all, actually. It's the business world, and they've got a deadline. It's about a product that they're introducing, and they want to know if I can help with a video. People just think different in that world, and I understand it. I was just trying to say from my position, it's like, hey, I could not be the right guy potentially, because it's like, there's plenty of guys out there that are probably making amazing YouTube videos, and they have smaller channels than mine, and that are trying to build their thing, and they could be the right choice because maybe they're like hurting for the work and could use it, and they would do a great job. It's like it becomes this thing where you get so damn busy that there's only so many hours in a day. When every video takes you 2 days to make, if you've got a backlog, you're like, well, I know that you're looking at 6 weeks out or something. You want to get something done, but it's, you know what I'm saying? It's just hard, when you got projects piling on. This is the same thing with any business. If you're a roofer, where you do, you do car detailing or whatever that it is that you do, it's like, if you're really good at what you do and you become, then the jobs pile up, and then people want you to do it, and you're like, I'm sorry, I'm just so slammed, That's what my handyman is, or the guy that helped me build this room. It's like, he's busy, he's got stuff to do. I could be like, hey, I need help with something. He's like, I'm slammed. I got like jobs all week, and I get it, because it's just how it is, It's all like quality problems. And okay. Guitar, that's the escape for some of us, especially with kids, says the Batigs. Yeah, I understand that for sure. Get your music room going and go down, close the door, and just check out for a bit. Guitar is amazing, isn't it, for that? As far as an escape, like a mental, to just get, if you can just tune out everything and then get lost in the tune or whatever that you're trying to learn. And, you can be in a bad mood and then come out of that room a half an hour, 45 minutes, or, 10 hours later and forget about it. What was I upset at? You don't even remember. I love that. I mean, like, a gig is a great resetter, right? When you get on stage and you might have had a certain bunch of whatever in your head, and then by the second song, you don't even remember because you focus on music and it just clears it all out. It's so great. So pretty cool. All right. Moving down in the chat. Okay. Is it somebody else was asking again, is a 15-watt amp loud enough? Yeah, I for me lately, the short answer is it has been. I just mixed a Mike's Turn project, says the Zen guitar guy. That's cool. And always feeling buried, but learn to delegate, and it really helps. That's great. Yeah. Okay. Looking for another question. Oh, somebody's in the top chat. And Sasha Boo Boo again. What's up? How long does it take to do your demos? Generally 2 days is what I always say. It feels like about 2 days, sometimes less. I'm going to try and finish the Sweetwater one in 1 day because I've got doing a song for it. I'm calling it 11 pedals in 11 minutes. And each pedal I'm going to play through and edit it down to a 1 minute segment of each pedal. So I just kind of jammed as though I was like I say, like in the music store, and this was a pedal board and I was trying each one. So I'll try and knock it out when I'm done here. Yeah, I hope so. I can knock it out in a day, but generally speaking, it's 2 days. Let's see. To get maximum tonal variety, what amps, no number or cache limit, would you recommend to a new player to practice at home, can play quietly, to not kicked out of my apartment, and do medium-sized gigs? Well, you want a PT-15, my friend. Because you can practice at home and not get kicked out of your apartment, because you could plug it direct into whatever you want, like a little Bose speaker or headphones, and then you could also play gigs with it. So just get a PT-15. You don't need a whole bunch of amps. Honestly, that's what we made it for. The other day at rehearsal, I used the headphone amp to warm up. I went over with my in-ears, just because nobody was ready yet. And, I just plugged my output of my in-ears into the amp and then played my tones, just warmed up a bit and stuff. And then when everybody's ready, I plugged it in the cab and sent the line out to front of house and all that. And that's so cool, maximum tone variety. I mean, yeah, I can't think of a better amp, to be honest. And that's not me just tooting my own horn, but that's what we made it for, to be honest. If you said, like, what are the main food groups that I need covered, to have it all, I would say you need American Fendery, British Marshally, Voxy British, a high gain monster of some sort, and you need all those bases covered. So in the PT series amps, I feel like we cover the American and the British sounds pretty well, meaning Vox, Fender, I think I'm jet lagged. Sorry, guys. Fender, Marshall, is kind of what we've got in the PT amps, really covered nicely, I think. And then the Vox thing is a thing unto itself that I feel like, unfortunately or fortunately or whatever, but it needs to be a combo amp, and it needs to have the Alnico speakers, and it needs to be Class A and have EL84s or whatever. That's just kind of that design has a very specific sound to it, but it's a really great sound, and it's part of the DNA of rock and roll. And then a modern, like my amp sounds great, it doesn't really sound like I say, like the Engel Savage or something, though. It's a different sound. So if you want that sound and you're going to play metal or whatever, and I mean, like, because it'll get dirty and it'll get, it's a very Marshall, it's kind of modded 800 sort of thing. But if you want to play, like, whatever, super modern, doesn't sound like a rectifier or something. So you might need that too in order to, that grindy modern, and those amps all don't sound the same. But if you could find one dirty grindy, whether it's a diesel angle recto, that aggressive, crazy, thing, then you got it all covered. My knees hurt, says I only eat carbs and beers. Well, I don't want to state the obvious, but that's why your knees hurt. I drove by a gym once, says Quentin James. Some have allergies to gluten, says True Tech. True. I think that's me. I think I'm just kind of allergic. I think I don't absorb it. When I found out about it, I went to a doctor because I was complaining about all this pain I was in my belly and everything else, and I won't go into detail. But the doctor said to me, and it was just a GP, the guy eventually says, you've got a malabsorption problem. You're not absorbing your food properly. You're not digesting it properly. And he said, it's probably dairy or gluten. So cut both of them out and give it 2 weeks and see how you feel. And I'd tried dairy, but I hadn't really tried gluten yet. Dairy helped. But it's interesting because I think I'm more intolerant to gluten than I am to dairy. I can tolerate dairy in certain quantities, and it's not too bad. Once I quit gluten, then I could do that. I could eat a little, have some ice cream every now and then, or a little cream in my coffee. Even though now, if anybody out there is a coffee freak, oat milk. God, it's good, isn't it? Is there anybody out there do oat milk in their coffee? It's so damn good. I love it. It's my favorite thing now. DHJB1 says, thank you. Thanks, man. You're in the top chat. I do appreciate it. You're in the top chat. What's the story behind getting to play with Don Henley? Ever chat with him about Don Felder? Yeah, trying to open up a can of worms for me there? That's Abracas #1 in the top chat. No, never. You don't want to bring that up. That's just going to put the man in a bad mood. I think they just had a falling out, I love Don, though, actually. He's a good guy. I mean, I think, he's I don't know. I actually really enjoy seeing him now. It was great to see him last month. And I don't know. I like him, I'm fascinated by those personalities, though. I'm addicted to them, really. These folks that it's what makes these folks tick, It's just fascinating. He's a great guy, I think. He just likes things, he's a boss that is, I don't know what hard to please, but he just likes things to be right. And that's why he is who he is, so can't fault the guy for that. He just wants it to be high level. He wants to give people the best show. He wants it to be killer. And, when it's not, he's upset about it. And that's the only thing I would say. And there's nothing wrong with that. I support that 100%. The story with getting to play with him is the very first band that I kind of hooked up with in LA. There was a fellow named Frank Symes in the band. He was a great guitar player and one of my early mentors. And Frank was Don's MD and musical director, and he played guitar with him. This is going back to End of the Innocence and that period, late 80s, early 90s. And he had been working with him. So that was the connection. And around the year 2000, Don put out an album called Inside Job. So 10 years went by, and I was in a band with Frank Symes. And 10 years went by from the time I met him until he called me one day and said, hey, so Don is going to put together a whole new touring band. I'm going to be the only member from the old band that still sticks around. He wants me to bring in some people and audition them. Would you like to come in on audition? And would you like to bring in some friends? Do you know a bass player, keyboard player, drummer that would be interested? I'll be the other guitar player. This is him talking. And you'll be, bringing, you'll come in. And so I went in and I was freaking out because I was like, that's crazy. And, this was a, anticipated album. Don hadn't put out a solo album in a long time. He was kind of riding high on the Eagles' Hell Freezes Over period and stuff. And he had a new album coming out. And I was like, I'd already done a little bit of touring and record deal stuff, and I was, but this was high level. I was in my late 20s, and I was like, oh, wow, this is. So I set about learning the stuff and working my butt off, and went in and auditioned. And I didn't know if I was going to get laughed out of the room. I remember the guys that were in there the day before the group that I brought in, because I brought in some friends. We went in and rehearsed and stuff, and we got, I worked on 10 songs for 3 weeks, just working my butt off. And we went in and did the audition. I was going to say the guys that were in there the day before we were in there was Greg Bissonette on drums, Matt Bissonette on bass, and Brett Tuggle on keys. And I remember seeing Greg and Brett play with David Lee Roth in '84, and or 85, right, with David Lee Roth. These were guys that were like heroes of mine, and here I was sort of mid to late 20s. I was like, God, am I going to get laughed out of the room here or what? You know, like, what's this going to be like? And I had to play all the guitar solos, and it was 10 songs. The first song was Dirty Laundry. And, you know, I was nervous. I remember the song coming in, and it sounded amazing. It was like Clare Brothers, you know, 2 wedges in front of me, 1,000 watts, just kicking ass. And we went in there and met Don, and I had my rig set up, and he came in singing, I make my living on the evening news. And I was like, don't suck now, man. This is high level shit. And I just went for it and played the best that I possibly could. And just that day to get to be in there and get the chance to do that was, I felt like, I've, you know, for a kid from Edmonton, it was like, this is crazy right now. Like I'm really like, I've made it this far, you know. It was 10 years into my time in LA, really. But I was so excited. So anyway, I went home that day, and on the way home, I got a call, and it was his assistant, and said, like, okay, Don really enjoyed playing with you guys. He wants you to come back next Tuesday again and play. So I got a call back. That right there was, I had won, just to get a call back, you know, and know that we didn't get laughed out of the room, especially after the Bissonnettes were playing the day before. And I was just over the moon about getting called back. So anyway, went back the next Tuesday, and he asked the whole band to come back. Now, at this point, I'll tell you, the bass player that was playing with me was Jurgen Carlson, who, you know, I had called all these guys to come in. Jurgen plays bass in Government Mule now for the last 10 years. Will Hollis, and a guy named Dave Salinas, terrific drummer, friend of mine. So we all go back the next Tuesday, and I went in and played, and we did the whole set once again, and it was really cool. And his assistant came up to me after we did the run through and said, Don wants you to stay for the rest of the day. He's going to bring in some other drummers and bass players and stuff, and he wants you to play and stay if you can stay. That was the moment where I was like, oh man, I think I got this gig. Like, what the hell's going on, you know? And I was just tripping, you know, because it was just, for me at that point, it was just like, I don't know, it's a prestigious gig, you know, and I was like really feeling it in that moment. So anyway, I stayed and played with another group of players who I've since become good friends with, Lance Morrison, and he got the gig on bass. He's been Don's bass player ever since that day, I guess. But and he's a really great player and funny guy. Long story short, a couple weeks went by, and I didn't hear anything after that day. And so I was like, oh, maybe this didn't work out. It was a real roller coaster ride of emotions, that whole thing. But I sent Don a letter, typed, signed letter. And I said, I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to come audition. I really appreciate it, you having me in. And I said, I don't know if you've made a decision yet, but if you haven't and you're still considering me, I just wanted to reiterate that I will give you 300% of my time, energy, and effort. And I signed it and just said, thank you very much. And I sent it, and about 2-3 days later, I got a call from Frank, and he said, Don wants you to come back and play again. And he said, you sent him a letter or something? And I said, yeah, I did. And he said, that really impacted him. He was really impressed with the letter. And I thought, oh, he likes, speaking about internet and email and stuff, he's an old school guy, and I think he likes handwritten, so anyways, putting thoughts to paper and stuff like that. So that's what happened. So I went back and played one more time, the third time. And I felt like I did really well. And he, we had some personal conversations where he came out and spoke with me out in the parking lot. And we talked a little bit about where I was from and that kind of thing. And, just like all this stuff I do in these pro musician videos and stuff now, people are feeling you out. They want to get the sense that you're confident and where you come from, if they can hang with you, how you're going to be under pressure and all that stuff. So we had some good talks, but I was green, I was 27 or 28. I think Don was maybe 55 or something at the time, something about that. And I'm pretty young at that point. So the second call back, third time I'd auditioned, and then 2-3 days went by, and I got a letter from Don in the mail, and it said, I wanted to thank you for coming out and all the effort you put, paraphrasing. I can't remember exactly what it said, but he said, "I wanted to thank you so much. I've decided to choose another guitar player for this tour," which was Peter Stroud. And he said, "I thought you were awesome, though, and I hope that maybe down the road in the future that we can work together, or we'll get a chance to work together at some point." And so I came in second, basically, that time around. So this was in 2000. So that's what happened there. And I was let down, but I thought, God, it was a really great experience, and it really taught me that if I could hang in there with him, I could do anything. It was a big part of what gave me the confidence to go on and know that I wasn't going to get laughed out of the room, or that if I just put in enough effort, I could get that far. And I was so close, So long story short, sorry, because it's a long ass story. I know the keyboard player that I brought in, because remember, going back to the beginning of the story, Frank asked me if I wanted to bring in players. The keyboard player that I brought in, he got the gig, and that was Will Hollis. And Will still plays with him to this day and is the MD of the Eagles as well as Henley's band. So the joke was always, "You owe me sushi," because it's a great gig. And so anyways, he's had the gig ever since. 9 years after that, 2009, Will called me and said, "Frank's leaving now, and we need a guitar player now. So do you want to?" And all these years later, Stuart Smith had come along. He was now playing in Don's band as well as the Eagles. So he was the other guitar player, but Frank was leaving. And said, Will said, "Do you want to come down and audition again?" I said, "Sure." So I went in again 9 years later, and that's when I got the gig. I did one audition and one call back, and he was just looking at a few guys, and he said, "All right, you're hired." And I always remember he said, "Okay, you're hired. You guys hungry? Let's get some hamburgers. Let's order some In-N-Out." He's a good guy. He bought In-N-Out for everybody that day. So that's my Henley story. And then I ended up doing it steadily from 2009 till 2015, and just got to do it again about a month ago. Anyway, thanks for listening to that whole story. Everybody hung in there. There's 335 people online. It was a good period for me, and a nice one that I wrapped up 10 years later. It was a nice, because it was a little bit of I hadn't quite, and then I was able to, once I had more experience, because a lot of shit happened between 2000 and 2009. Chris Cornell and working in the studio with Linda Perry, and got to tour with folks like Jewel and all that stuff. So I did all those gigs, and then I had enough experience by the time I went in again. Alrighty. Probably have a tapeworm, says my knees hurt. I guess. Oh, you're saying you drink at least 12 beers a day and do very little physical activity, but I'm losing weight somehow. Dude, you got to take it easy. Come on, I'm worried about you. That's a lot of beer, and that's why your knees hurt. I don't know. Do I drink beer anymore, says In Skane Music. I drink beer once in a while. I'll drink gluten-free beer, because there's some great gluten-free beers out there. One called Celia, and another one called Omission that I quite like. It's pretty good. True beer aficionados might be like, "Oh, that's crap." But for me, it's good enough. It's like beer they brew as a normal beer, and then they take the gluten out. Those are the ones I like. There's other gluten-free beers that are sorghum-based and things like that. I don't really like those very much. They taste like non-alcoholic beers to me, sort of. It's a weird flavor, but there's some good ones. Don't drink it that much. All that said, I drink ciders now a lot more. I kind of developed an affinity for cider. Incidentally, there's a guy that watches the live stream, and I don't know if he's watching now, but he was so nice. He brought me out a box of this great. He brought me some cider, and he came to the show in Colorado, the clinic in Colorado. And it was such a nice gesture. He brought me this nice wooden box beside. It was like this great. Oh, and the other thing he brought me was a Keurig capsule that I could put my own grinds in, so I could make my own coffee. What a nice thing that he did, And so anyway, that's being shipped to me by the store in Colorado, because I figured out that I just didn't have any way to bring it back without getting an excess bag fee and all that with the stuff that I had. So anyway, they're shipping it, and I'll have that soon. But I just wanted to thank him again if he's watching, because it was a really nice gesture, I thought. Okay, I'm gonna go down the bottom of the chat. If anybody's got anything that I'm missing, please ask again because I'm sorry I got so off on that story. Hopefully it was interesting. Super Gigawatt says, "Hey Pete, is your favorite Fender Stratocaster currently in production?" Oh, what is my favorite Fender Stratocaster currently in production? Well, it would probably be just some variant of vintage, like I love those 65 they put out a few years ago that had a great neck on them and stuff and the nice thin skin finishes and stuff, the ones with the 65 style logo. And they were like regular line guitars. I don't think they were custom shop. That was a really nice guitar. Custom shop ones that I pick up every now and then that are just, probably master build or team built relics. Every now and then you play one in a store and go, wow, this is really nice. Like it's a good feeling guitar. You can tell they ring and, so it wouldn't be any one particular model. It would probably be just picking up one that, because, they're kind of all Strats to me. It's like, it's like this version and that version, but if they don't ring and they're not, you just got to pick up the magic one. I don't know. Like I have no idea, for instance, if anybody watches Paul Davids, he bought that Telly at the Toman event. That was a great guitar. It's a natural finish, thin line Telly. And I'm not really like a big thin line Telly guy. That guitar, man, it had all kinds of tone and just really rings. And you can see it in a lot of his current videos. That's how I don't even know what the model is. It's probably a custom shop, thin line, something or other, but really, really terrific sounding. Let's see. Moving down. Can I open up a can of worms? What's your favorite Dumbo pedal or preamp? That's from Aaron. It's not really a can of worms. The Hedgehog is really my Dumbo, and I don't know that much about Dumbos, but that does that smooth. It's gainy, but it's that thing right there. And other than that, the Zen Drive is kind of that. I used it on the guitar solo from 10th Street on Guitar Nerd. Is a Zen Drive running into the old basement. And it was a great sound with my 335. Really nice solo tone, actually, now that I think about it. Back to that sound. I was very happy with the sound I was able to get out of that little rig. Check that out if you haven't heard the solo from 10th Street. Is a Zen Drive in the basement. Sounds good. And I know that's what Robin Ford uses Zen Drives when he can't get a Dumble or whatever, just into Fenders, right, on the road. It's a cool sound. But the Hedgehog, if you haven't tried it right there, that's basically sort of a hot rod American Dumble style thingy. And the overdrive on that, it sounds killer to me. I mean, other than that, I've got a Dumbleoid, and it's a terrific pedal. I enjoyed that pedal, but I'm not a Dumble expert, and I know that they're all kind of different. That's the other thing. So, alrighty. What else we got here? Rico USA is in the top chat. Pete, in your amp, Pete, on the back, do you use the line bus in out or speaker bus in out, or if so, if how? I don't think so. I just go into the individual amp send in outs. I'm not using the speaker bus in outs. So I've got just the 3 cab outs hooked up to 2 to load boxes and 1 to a real cabinet in my live room, and that's it. And then I run into the input on the front. So other than that, I don't think I'm using those. Okay. All right. The chat just went all the way to the end. I'm going to back up just a bit and try and go fast. I was in Canada once during a brewery strike, says Mute That Bozo. So everyone was doing the cider and running across the border for beer. Yeah, once you try cider, you're like, hey, that's actually pretty good. Some of it even almost tastes like beer. But it's got a better taste in some ways to me. Pete, what is the most amps you have ever run at once? Have you ever done an Yngwie wall of amps? I guess the most amps I've ever done at once is probably just a wet rig, but with some dry mixed in, because that's a pretty powerful rig. It's, 100-watt amp up the middle, and then a 250-watt power amps driving 2 other cabinets with all 412s. So probably that. I used to use that with Cornell for a while. It was overkill. I went to 2 112s after a while for for the wet cabs, because it was, first of all, it takes up half the stage having 3 412 side by side, which is cool, but I don't know, it's totally unnecessary. And then, for a while I ran 200 watt, amps side by side. That's still what I do with most of my gigs, 200 watt PT100s. Probably the loudest thing I've ever done was at the LA Amp show when Zach Wilde plugged me into 200 watt Marshalls and 2 cabinets, and both of them were cranked. And we shared a Heineken. I remember that. That was cool. Conductive paint or copper shielding or nothing at all? Does the paint have the potential to change body resonance? Geez, I don't know. That's Stephen Douglas. That's a good Sir question. I believe they shield their cavities, so probably all my Sirs have shielded situations going on. So I think they're all shielded, and they'll have not my signature model, but the single coil models I have the SSC 2. Yeah. Good story, Pete. Just hearing it gave me stage fright. That's Richard. Yeah, I was nervous. Don't get me wrong. It's not that I wasn't nervous. I was, but sometimes you just got to go for it, and it's easier when you're younger, maybe, I don't know. The older I got, I actually developed a little bit more stage fright after a while than when I was younger. I don't know why. I'm kind of done with that now, actually. I'm fine now, but let's see. Hey, Pete, got tickets to your Birmingham, UK seminar. Looking forward to it. That's Des. Yeah, man, I will be there in Birmingham. It's going to be fun. I'm enjoying the clinics greatly, and the song is actually fun, and I get to use the Helix HX effects in it quite a bit, which is fun. I'm doing like things like an octave shifted down part with a fuzz, so it sounds like fuzz bass and things like that. So it's a different kind of, I'm using the amp a lot, clean channels, dirty channels, the whole 9 yards, but I'm also using the Helix, and it's fun. I don't know, I'm just enjoying the track. Somebody's here. I don't know who. Bear with me. All right, Bitty B's here.
Yeah. I thought you were going to be done at like 7.
Nope. That's Bitty B, everybody.
Hey. I'll sit out of this. Oh, I'm not going to. This is my live stream now.
You're early. She was up the street rehearsing. You're just going to hang over there?
Okay, I'll go sit on that.
We're going to do a video this week, actually, for this guy.
See, this is the problem dating someone like this. There's no room to sit on that couch because there's like 70 guitars on the stupid couch. Oh my God. Anyways.
That's what you get. All right, we're going to do a video this week for the Dookie pedal, this one for MXR. So that's coming soon. She's going to play drums. She's a huge Green Day fan. So I said, why don't you put it together? You play drums and guitar, and I will simply go back and redub the guitar, right?
Yeah, that'll be cool. I think it'll sound really neat.
So she's tasked with building a 1.5 minute Green Day medley so we can demonstrate this pedal. And I'm going to go back and replace the guitar parts.
Yeah, it'll sound good.
Or maybe I should just let you do the whole video.
Oof. All right, I'm down. It's
all right.
Green Day, it's not freaking Van Halen.
Somebody's up there in the top chat saying, would you consider selling your TERC That 80s Rack chorus? No. Because I like it. And I've actually got it in the rack over there. So for sometimes when I want to do wet, dry, wet stuff, God, it got hot in here again. And open up my Nest again and see if I think the air just turned off. Yes, it did. Went to eco mode because of the time. That's the only problem with these Nest things. They're great, but open Nest app. Yeah, it just got super hot. What does that say? Stop eco. Sorry, guys. I'll turn this down a bit. All right. Yeah, I like having the rack chorus, just in case I want to do wet, dry, wet stuff. It just is kind of magical sounding. And so I know it's like indulgent to have it there because there's plugins that do it and stuff. But hey, Randy Wilcox is in the top chat. He's got a question for Britt. He says, did you download the files?
Oh, shit. That's right.
Did you download the tracks?
Oh, my gosh. I've been so
He's
slammed.
listening right now, so is everybody else. So
I didn't. No, I did download them. I just haven't gotten to actually recording parts yet. But I will send them your way.
Okay.
Next week.
Randy's a musician. And he's getting Britt to play drums on some tracks. So.
But yes, I've downloaded them. I just haven't demoed them yet. But I will demo them.
Unprofessional. I'm gonna get a hit.
Okay.
I'm gonna get beat now. If you make it to Seattle for a clinic, Ghostfish is an all gluten-free beer brewery that's pretty good, says Mr. Coyote Jones. That's cool. I will try that. I didn't know that. Good to know. Pete Thorn, do you ever fanboy over artists you've met? Yeah, sure. I mean, it depends who they are, but I was totally starstruck when I met Flight of the Conchords.
Oh my God.
I was.
I would be too.
Yeah. Who else? I mean, yeah, the Beatles. Like I met Ringo Starr once. That was like I could barely speak, because it's a Beatle. He's the only Beatle I've met, but it was awesome to get to meet him. Of course, Eddie. I mean, first time I ever met him, I was nervous as hell, but he broke the ice real quick. It was cool.
Oh, that was hilarious.
I'm not telling that story.
Okay,
so.
Okay, yes, sir.
Yeah. What else we got here? Let's see. I'm going to go to the end of the chat. I got to run, actually, guys. It's 8:22, so I'm going to split here pretty quick and then go finish the pedalboard video for the Sweetwater guys and hopefully get it up within the next day or two. Steph says, hey, buddy, thanks so much for your kick-ass videos. You rock. Thank you very much. Hi, Pete. Do all overdrive pedals reduce the bass like into a JCM 800? That's Rodney. No, I wouldn't say so. Some of them are quite flat. But reducing the bass into a JCM 800 can be a good thing. For instance, if you use like something like this Revival Drive, it won't unless you want it to. If you turn the bass all the way down, it's like a reasonable amount of bass that's reduced. It's not like excessive. It sounds kind of super leadish when you turn it all the way down. Into the JCM 800 though, let's just pick up this board. I'll show you this. So Friedman, on most of his pedals, he's smartly included, like on this guy right here, the Buxom Boost, there's this control right here. God, I'm going to drop it, labeled tight. And it's just a pot that you dial up and it filters bass. And so you can leave all the bass in or filter out as much as you want. Dirty Shirley pedal right here, you can see on the side, I'm not going to try and reach it, but it's over on the other side of the pedal. There's a little switch. That little toggles in a tight mode that does a similar thing where it cuts bass. So you can run this pedal into it. The whole thing is like certain other amps, when they've got amps are either bright or like it's a combination of brightness and low end that can kind of either blow up the bass or blow up the top end on just about any amplifier. And like when you put an overdrive into it, overdrive accentuates everything. So the core amp tone gets blown up by the overdrive. And if that core amp tone is excessively bright or excessively deep, it might sound fine when you're playing the amp without the pedal, but it's going to really accentuate that once you throw a drive into it, if the drive is very full. So kind of when you're making an overdrive pedal, what you're doing is you're trying to strike some sort of balance between that low end and top end and almost like limiting the range many times, which think of a tube screamer into a clean amp with the gain it's kind of thin sounding. It like thins out the bass, and it's generally, especially with the tone control midway or down, it doesn't sound that bright. But that can work great because that limited sort of thing doesn't blow up the bass or accentuate the on the top end, right? So it just depends on like on the Friedman pedals, and a lot of these new pedals, actually Wampler pedals and stuff, they're giving you switches and things to kind of cut bass and cut super highs or rein it in so that you're not getting too much of that stuff. And it can really help. So you're getting more control over those types of things, which is great. The Batig says, great story about Henley. Thanks for sharing. Have a good one. Thanks for being here, man. Appreciate you checking in and hanging with me. Let's see. Pete, if I bring my Les Paul to your classic rock show gig in Birmingham, will you please sign it? Sure. That's Colin. Yeah, I'd be happy to. Sure you want my messy scrawl on your guitar? Back of the headstock or something? Have you ever played a GNL guitar? A little bit. I like them. What I've played. I just picked them up at NAMM and stuff. I've never owned one or anything. Yeah. Down at the end of the chat there. Hey, Pete. It's from David Love from Calgary. Actually went to Edmonton for music school. Cool. Did you go to McEwen? Have you ever checked out the Mesa Boogie Cali Tweed yet? I haven't. I haven't checked out that particular amp, but there's boogies that I like. I mean, I really like the Lone Star cleans and stuff, so I can imagine the Cali. They do those Fendery tones really well, you know, generally speaking. So I find. Is that Robert Baker that's here?
I'm becoming more of a contributing part of this live stream. I just feel weird sitting in the back on the couch. I feel like a weirdo.
Well, we're gonna go anyway, so you are a weirdo. You know that. Yeah.
Me.
All right, we better go. I'm gonna get in trouble.
Wait, what does that even mean? Answer a few more questions.
Robert, what's up? Robert Baker's here. Nice to see you here.
You probably missed like a ton.
And sorry I haven't been chatting much, folks. Said Phil. Good to have you here, though, Phil.
Yeah, see, that's cool. What's the proudest song you've ever written?
Where's that one? Oh, my proudest song I've ever written. My two favorite songs are Remember and Big Mistake. Both are on in my two albums are both the last two songs. So I got nothing to add to either of those. I'm totally happy with those. Usually when you hear a song, you're like, I wish I'd done this different or I'd done that different, but both those I'm completely happy with. So I also but you know, when I listen to, I'm actually like pretty comfortable with a lot of them, like 10th Street and Promise, and you know, I don't know.
Rosemary, it's my favorite.
I like Rosemary. Yeah, Rosemary was so a lot of these tunes I pulled from 20 years ago or something, or like that was a song I wrote when I was like 20 years old or something. 20. No, maybe I was a little older than that. I think I was like 21, 22, something like that when I wrote it, and then I just never recorded it.
Did you remember it?
Oh yeah.
And then you just tracked it?
Yeah, well, I had to kind of, like Rosemary, I had to write, I added to it the little melody. Like it was just an acoustic sing, you know, just like a guitar part was all it was. And then I had to add a melody on top of it and stuff. So, you know, it's like one of these things you start. And then, I mean, 10th Street was kind of the same way. I started that song in 2005 and then I finished it like 5 or 6 years later or something like that. And I didn't have a complete, you know, I had to write the bridge, and I actually started recording it in 2005 and then I added on to the recording. So if you guys listen to the song 10th Street, the first verse was recorded in 2005 and the last verse was like recorded in 2011, I think. Cool. And I had to try and match the tone, because I wanted to keep the take from the 2005. So I went and did all this EQ and stuff to kind of match the sound.
Why didn't you just redo it?
I just liked the take. I was like, why do that again? It sounds good. So I just kept it. But
that's cool.
Randy's still in the top chat saying, did you download the track? No,
I already messaged him. Okay.
Robert's asking if I've checked out the new Big Wreck. I haven't. I know it came out,
good.
but I haven't. Is it good?
Yeah, it's good.
She listens to more.
I love them.
So I haven't listened to it yet.
It's really good.
What else we got here? Tom says we see Pete every week. Does he get how talented he is? Oh, you're too kind.
I think he does. He's just very humble.
I like the ferocity, intensity of your drumming. Well,
thank you.
She's a wild animal. She's crazy. And she plays good guitar too.
Yeah.
She's
I thought I did, and then I met you, and I'm like, oh, I don't play good guitar.
You do? You play great guitar.
Not at all.
Yeah, you're good. How many people? I don't play drums at all. So
that's true. But you write in good drums.
Wayne says, "Geez, Pete, you never say hi to me, do you?" Wayne, what's up, dude? I hope you're good.
That's cute.
Your girl is gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. That's very sweet. Excellent drummer. Thank you. Drums are hard. That is true.
Drums are hard. Drums are super hard. Yeah. It's true.
So is guitar though. So it's true. That's fun. See, this is pretty cool. I like that you do this Monday today, but
yeah,
that's really cool.
Sundays is the standard. So guys, next week I got to split. I really do because I got to get on to finishing this video. It's so hot in here. I got to see what's going on. It's like crazy, but like I'm sweating. But next week,
someone asked if you have tattoos. Sorry, that's not funny, but no.
Yeah, she does. She's got all the tattoos. She's
don't have any.
Next week, I've got something going on right at 10. So I think what I'm going to say is next. I hate to change it, but I think noon is the safer bet for next week, and I'm going to do noon to like 1:30, and then I have to split because I got to be I got to go to do my Circ Linux, so I'm headed off to Europe again next week. So we're going to do noon next week on Sunday. Okay, a little bit late. I'll put up posts on my Facebook and stuff like that, and on YouTube. Does anybody read the posts I put on YouTube? Because I put them up saying, "Hey guys, I'm going to start tomorrow at 11:15 or whatever," and I don't know if anybody ever sees that stuff. So I'm just not sure if it's like even worth it. But
post it on your Instagram story.
Sometimes I start the Instagram 5 minutes before I do, and I say, "Hey, come on over to YouTube." I do that. But I don't know. Yeah, I guess you're right. I probably should do that.
Like a text on your story, more people see that.
That would make more sense. Facebook, you mean Facebook says L Scott Music? No, actually, Lauren, I mean on I put it on my Facebook page, but I also put it on YouTube. You can put a post, and I don't know if anybody ever sees that stuff because you didn't even know about it. Like it's on YouTube. There's a YouTube posts where if you got your feed of YouTube, like so and so just uploaded this video and da 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 and da 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 da, it will be like a text post from. And I don't know if it's even worth putting up, but I put them up there sometimes. So a few people are saying yes. Yeah, Aaron says he does. He's hip to it. Wayne says yes. The Batig says yes. All right, well, I'll keep doing it then. If some of you guys, you see the YouTube posts, Dan, and that's cool. L says don't see the YouTube posts, but hey, Anyways, guys, this has been fun. Thanks for bearing with me, and sorry for the technical problems at the beginning. And we'll see you next week. This week I'll be just watch out for that Sweetwater video. I got a bunch of other ones coming, like the Dookie one. And
I do have a YouTube channel.
What's that?
My YouTube channel.
Oh yeah, Britt's got a YouTube channel. Everybody go check out Britt's YouTube. She plays drums and does cool cover songs and stuff like that. She's more active on Instagram than YouTube.
I'd be more active on YouTube, but it's not picking up for me on there. So.
Well, you folks go give her a bump. Give her some subscribers.
Just my name.
Give her some subscribers. Tom says subscribe to Britt.
Thank you.
And just look for Brittany Bowman on there, and you'll find her.
Cool.
All right, you guys. Thanks for hanging. We'll see you. I'll see you next week, Sunday at
you always do that.
Noon next week. Not 11, noon. Beat it.
Cute.